Hey, everybody. This your girl, Tiffany, coming through here live in effect. So, I just want to get into this topic about Pan-Africanism and its impacts on African and the diaspora. All right. So, what made me do this topic is because I was on a platform and the conversation was centered around the fake woke and the fake activism and whatnot. All right. Now, I'm on somebody else's platform, and there's an individual. They have their point of view, whatnot. It's respectful, but then it starts to get a little cringy. And knowing me, I know how I can be. So I figured that it would be respectful for me to leave the platform and just come over here and pretty much speak my views on my own platform. Because I don't want to go on somebody else's platform and be disrespectful, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to do that, you know what I'm saying? Because that wouldn't be fair, you know what I'm saying, to the individual who was hosting that platform. So I kind of just quietly left and say, I'm going to come over here and address it on my platform, respectfully. Right? I'm just going to address it on my platform. So, but it was a good conversation, to be honest. It was a good conversation. It was a conversation that needed to be had. I think that we can talk about that and we should be able to have that conversation. So, this person asked a question as to what has Pan-Africanism done for us, or what has the African nation done for us. All right. And so, pretty much, I read, if you look up the what's it called? The Chat GPT, the AI. If you type it in, it can give you an outline of that. Now, I learned something new because I'm not too good with the Chat GPT thing, the AI thing. Okay. So I put that in there and I said, okay, let's go through it. Let's walk through it. So I guess what's it called? The Chat GPT. Yes, that's what it's called, Sister Jelane. Thank you so much. So, I'm kind of new to this thing. But after reading the information, I guess the information wasn't satisfying enough to the individual. So I said, okay, what is he trying to look for? Like, I get where he's coming from, but now it's getting a little cringy. So, now where I stand on my position, okay, I do identify with being a Pan-Africanist. I do identify with Black nationalism. I do, okay. However, I'm not a Garveyite. I respect everything that Garvey has done. I respect the information. I'm just not a Garveyite, but I'd rather be on the concept of Pan-Africanism. And I'm going to explain why I chose to be on the concept of Pan-Africanism. Okay? Um, Here's the thing. The reason why is because, Pan-Africanism has provided more accurate information about us as an African in the diaspora, right? Now, there's some things of those who were a part of the movement, as far as like information wise, they didn't get everything right, because you gotta remember, during that time period, that was only limited information. However, these individuals went above and beyond to make sure that we were able to study and was able to learn a lot about our culture, our people, and where we come from. They had the right idea. So, and it's been around for a long, long time. You talking about Pan-Africanism has been around since like the 1880s, maybe 1890s. Okay? It's been around for a long time, for a very long time. Now, when I look at the work of these ancestors, these people, we talking about people like W.E.B. Du Bois, We're talking about Carl G. Woodson. You might well say he a Pan-Africanist because he studied a lot on African history in America, right? We talking about people like Edward Whitman Blyden, okay? Queen Mother Moore, who else? Alexander Cromwell, Henry Sylvester William, Dr. Eric William. All right, we talking about it's a list of names. These people went above and beyond. Walter Rodney, another one. They studied over and over and over. Right, Martin Delaney. They study these information. They compile so much information. They did a lot of work, even in the midst of their crisis. You know what I'm saying? Even when you was dealing with ongoing issues of racism at an all-time high. Walter Rodney was assassinated in his own country while he was speaking on, dealing with the history about black people in general. Dr. Eric Williams, I believe he was assassinated. These are individuals who died, giving us the information, giving us the resources. These people died for us. Okay? So it would be disrespectful in my book to say, fuck Pan-Africanism. It would be disrespectful knowing that these people don't work their asses off. Now, I can understand people may feel some kind of way. You have a right to feel some kind of way. I understand that. You can feel some kind of way. But you cannot deny the political information they have given us, the social information, the historical information. And you had people like Dr. Amos Wilson trying to lay down the groundwork, a psychologist who had a Pan-African mindset. He's trying to lay down the groundwork as far as economic is concerned. What was the name of that book that he wrote? Let me look up that book. What was the name of that book? What's it called? Blueprint for Black Power. Blueprint for Black Power. And I'm glad you brought this up. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Sister Juju. You put up Pan-Africanism is in the Journal of Nature. Ooh. AIMS is a Pan-African organization. Let me tell you, let me read up something that Owl had put, or AI, as y'all want to call them. Like I told you, I'm new to this thing, so. Oh, look at this. African in science, in mathematical sciences. Oh. Let me share some information for y'all. Let me share some information. See, don't take Tiffany's word for it. Maybe Tiffany can share the information that she looked up. Okay, so I typed in the chat GPT, right? It says, what did Pan-Africanism do for African Americans? Watch this. Pan-Africanism played a significant role in the African American struggle for civil rights and equality. It provided a framework for solidarity and collaboration among people of African descent worldwide. Here are a few ways it impacted African Americans. One is solidarity. Pan-Africanism promoted the idea of unity among people of African descent, regardless of geographic location. This solidarity helped strengthen the resolve of African Americans in their fight against racism and discrimination. Intellectual influence. Pan-Africanist thinkers like W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey contribute to African American intellectual thought. Their ideas influenced movement for civil rights and black empowerment in the United States. Okay, so international advocacy. Pan-Africanism encouraged African Americans to engage in international advocacy for their rights. This included participating in global conferences such as the Pan-African Congresses to address issues like colonialism, racism, and imperialism, right? The fourth one is cultural exchange. Pan-Africanism facilitates cultural exchange between African Americans and people of African descent in other parts of the world. This helps strengthen the cultural identity and pride among African Americans. So it says, overall, Pan-Africanism provided African Americans with a broader perspective on their struggle for equality and help connect their struggle to broader global movements for liberation and justice. All right. Now, that's one thing. See, if it wasn't for Pan-Africanism, right, we wouldn't be able to have grassroots movements. If it wasn't for Pan-Africanism, we would not be able to have grassroots movements. So obviously, Pan-Africanism did something. Now, you still got long ways to go. There's still long ways to go. So the individual asked the question, well, why the African nation haven't contributed, yada, yada, yada. Well, here it is. You're dealing with politics in other countries. You have to understand the politics in itself is a dirty business. It's a cutthroat thing, okay? So it's not so much of an attitude where these people don't want to help or they don't want to do nothing. It's like, what can't you really do when your hands are tied? You can only do so much. You can only do so much. What can't you do when your hands are tied behind your back? So, of course, they can't contribute economically per se, right? Because there's a lot going on. But I will tell you this, they gave opportunity for African Americans and African in the diaspora to repatriate. These African nations gave opportunity for Africans in the diaspora to repatriate to the countries of their choice. Okay? So you got countries like Ghana, Liberia, which Liberia history goes back to the African descendant in America. And part of Sierra Leone goes back to the descendant of the Africans in America, the Afro-Caribbeans, and the liberated Africans. There's a place called Freetown in Sierra Leone that was founded by the African descendant people of the diaspora and in the African continent. Okay? You know, you got Senegal. You know what I'm saying? You got Mali. You got Nigeria. Just to name a few countries. Okay? Hell, you can even go way up to North Africa. You got parts of Egypt where you got black people in Egypt, black people from America living in Egypt right now. So evidently they're doing something. Now, they may not do it in a broader scale per se, but they're allowing the opportunity for those who are African descent that choose to want to come back to the country or come back to the continent. Okay? Okay, now it says, what she put on here? She says, diplomatic ties is a crucial issue, and America doesn't have a great diplomatic ties to Africa. Bingo. Why is that? Why is that America does not have a great tie to Africa? Why is that America does not have a great tie to Africa? Let's see. But Kenya traveled to Australia to help them combat wildfires. They most likely have good diplomatic ties. Why is that? And I'm glad you brought up the word diplomatic ties. Why is that America does not have great diplomatic ties to Africa? Why is that America does not have a great diplomatic ties to Africa? Oh, and let's talk about resources. Let's talk about resources. Oh, we can go there because watch this. I know this kind of gets off the subject about Pan-Africanism, but let's look at this. If African countries did not contribute to the Western countries, then how is that they can be able to get resources? Let's talk about what's going on right now in the Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, right? There's a lot going on. But what people don't know is let me find something. Hold on. Your mobile device. Okay? This right here is called a cell phone, right? What people don't know about this mobile device. Wait a minute. And it's for you FBA and ADOS folks out there, right? This material that's inside of here is the berry, okay? And the berry is made out of coatine, okay? It's made out of coal minerals. So all those coal minerals that these people are digging up in the ground in the Congos, little to no money, okay? It's enough for you to have a mobile device, a cell phone. Oh, and I could go so far to talk about computers. Those same minerals they digging off that ground is made for your computers. But let somebody's let me not go there. But you got people believing that Africans they don't deal with science. Well, obviously they dealing with some form of science if they digging up natural resources and minerals off the ground to create devices that we're currently using. And I can go so far as say Ghana. See, Ghana was not always called Ghana, but it was named after the Ghana Empire, okay? That was around way before the transatlantic slave trade took place. At one point in time, Ghana was called the Gold Coast. Why is that? Why was Ghana called the Gold Coast? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why was Ghana called the Gold Coast? Because of the gold. The gold. Yeah, the gold that you wear around your neck, the gold that you wear on your finger. Yeah, the gold watches and all that. All that. If you want to know where your golds come from, that comes from Ghana. Because we don't got that here in America. We ain't got them type of natural resources. And then I can go so far talk about Sierra Leone. Who remember Kanye's West video, Diamonds Are Forever? Do you know why he visited Sierra Leone in that video? Do you know why he went to Sierra Leone to do that song? Blood diamonds. Blood diamonds. Blood diamonds. Does that not sound familiar to you? Blood diamonds. Blood diamonds. Yes, these are actual diamonds. See what? So what happens is they did the diamonds off the ground, right? And we typically think that diamonds are very shiny materials or whatnot. What they'll do is they'll dig the diamonds off the ground and then it's transported to another country and get clean, right? And make it look like it's shiny. When it's really not shiny per se, it's just reflecting the light, but it's not really shining. Because diamonds, I'm just saying this to say that diamonds actually they are worth a lot of money. They are very there you go, raw diamonds. Thank you, raw diamonds. Diamonds are worth a lot of money. They are valuable. They are valuable assets. They are valuable assets. That's why you have people who can take their diamonds and put it in security deposits. Yeah, people take their diamonds and put it in security deposits. Same way with gold. They can take their gold, right? And I ain't talking about jewelry gold per se, but like, the gold pieces thing, right? They can take those and put it in security deposit because they're worth money. Diamonds are worth money. Okay? They are valuable. So Africa is the richest continent in the world. Yeah, America is the richest country because of the wealth, but not the natural resources. Africa is the richest continent in the world because Africa has a lot of natural resources. Especially when you go to the western part of Africa and the central part of Africa, because that's where a lot of the resources are. Why do you think these European countries is going over there? Why do you think the western country feed off the resources over there? Because they have a lot of natural resources that other places don't have. Hmm. But let me get back to the point. I know I threw that out there for a reason. But let me talk about how Pan-Africanism also influenced African Americans, or how the Africans have influenced or played their part in the African diaspora in the way they could. Okay. And then I also want to talk about another thing. So I want to bring up some information. So let me go back to this chat thing. Oh boy. All right. I hope y'all can see my screen here, child. So what did Africa do for African Americans? Watch this. Africa has played a multifaceted role in the history and experience of African Americans. Here are some ways Africa has influenced African Americans. So the first one is cultural heritage. Africa represents the ancestral homeland for many African Americans. Learning about African culture, tradition, and history has helped African Americans connect with their roots and reclaim aspect of their identity. Okay. Two, inspiration for liberation. The independence movements and anti-colonial struggles in Africa inspires African Americans in their own fight against racism and oppression. Leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, and Nelson Mandela became symbols of resistance and liberation for African Americans. Okay. So the third one is diaspora connections. Africa served as a link to the broader African diaspora. African Americans have forged connection with people of African descent in other parts of the world, sharing experiences, culture, and a sense of solidarity in the struggle for equality. All right. Um, Political engagement. African Americans have advocated for political solidarity with African nations. This includes supporting African liberation movement, lobbying for policies that benefit Africa, and promoting economic development and trade between African nations and the African diaspora. Cultural exchange, right? The African American culture has been influenced by African tradition, music, art, and cuisine. This cultural exchange has enriched both African and African American cultures, contributing to a vibrant and diverse global heritage. All right. Now, let's talk about the contribution to Pan Africanism. All right. So it talks about intellectual leadership. Of course, it says African thinkers and leaders have played pivotal roles in shaping the ideology and philosophy of Pan Africanism. All right, and you got the name of Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, and Patrice Lumumba. Articulate vision of African unity and liberation from colonialism. which inspired Pan-African movements across the continent and beyond, right? So independent movements. The struggle for independence from colonial rule in Africa was deeply intertwined with the ideals of Pan-Africanism. So African nation achieving independence served as a powerful example of self-determination, inspired African Americans and other people of African descent in their own quest for civil rights and equality. And then it talks about Pan-African institutions, right? African countries have been instrumental in establishing and supporting Pan-African institutions aimed at fostering unity and cooperation among African nations and the African diaspora. So examples include the Organization of African Unity, now the African Union, and the Pan-African Parliament. Okay. So hosting Pan-African Congress, African nations have hosted several Pan-African Congress, which provided platform for intellectual activists and leaders from across the African diaspora to convene, discuss common challenges, and strategize for collective action. So diplomatic support. African countries have provided diplomatic support and solidarity to liberation movement and struggles for civil rights around the world. They have advocated for the rights of people of African descent in international forums and supported initiatives aimed at addressing systematic racism and inequality. All right. So this is what they have contributed as far as African nations with Pan-Africanism is concerned. Okay. So here's the thing. Again, you can only do so much as a nation. But when your country is going through chaos, it's like what can't you really do overall? And as the sister mentioned, and I'm glad she brought that up, diplomatic ties. When there is no diplomatic ties with other countries, right, or other continents, it becomes very, very, very hard to implement the ideas. But you do what you can, okay? Now, not everybody is going to agree with Pan-Africanism, all right? So that's not the goal. Even Marcus Garvey knew that. He knew that you can't unify all black people. There's some black people that you can't even take on board. So that is logical, all right? But to try to discredit or to discourage people from even learning about Pan-Africanism in a broader sense becomes very problematic in itself. The real question that we need to be asking as black people, what are we doing in our current state for each other in this country? That's what we need to be asking. You know, we got all these movements. What is really happening? How much impacts are we making? Or are we contributing to our neighborhoods? I can go so far to talk about political parties. Oh boy. Oh, we love to have that conversation, right? Let's talk about how, we got people encouraging black folks to be Democrats. And I'm not saying or advocating for Republican Party at all. No, I'm not. But let's be honest. Let's be 100% honest. There has been a lot of things that has been taking place under Democratic leadership within our community that has not done black people any good at all. So yeah, we got to really ask the question as to, and peace to brother Aaron. How you doing, brother Aaron? Shout out to you, brother. But we have to ask the question: what are we doing? What are we doing in our community? We telling people to vote Democrat, but that's not good enough because it's so much shit happens under Democrat leadership. And it seems like things get worse under Democratic leadership. Let's just be honest. My 34 years being on this planet, right? every local mayor, right, every local politician that we had so far were Democrats. And it seemed like under their leadership, things did not go so well for the Black community. And why do we not put primary focus on what's really going on in our neighborhoods as the center of the conversation? Mm. But let me share something with y'all real quick. I want you guys to let's look it up. I want to talk about this with you guys because a lot of people don't really know about this. I didn't even know anything about it myself. Hold on, let me. Let me find it. I'm trying to find it because I just looked it up the other day. Hmm. Let me find it. Let me give me a moment, you guys. Shoot, because I just okay. I found it. I'm about to pull it up for you guys. So I'm finna pull it up for y'all. Hold on, I'm finna pull it up for y'all. Please bear with me, bear with me. All right, so I want to share something with y'all real quick. Okay, I'm back. So let me share something with y'all real quick. So this brother right here, not many people know about him, or his name is not often brought up into the conversation. His name was Randall Robinson. What did Randall Robinson do? Now his name should be brought up in the conversation, especially when we talk about the concept of Pan-Africanism, right? Watch this. Who is Randall Robinson? Randall Robinson was the founder of Trans Africa. Randall Robinson was the founder of Trans Africa. Now, what is Trans Africa? Let's get into that conversation. Who is Randall Robinson, first and foremost? Okay. So Randall Robinson was, and he was an African American lawyer, author, and activist, noted as the founder of Trans Africa. Okay. He was known particularly for his impassioned opposition to apartheid and for his advocacy on behalf of Haitian immigrants and Haitian President Jean. I can't say the whole name. Anyways, due to his frustration with American society, Robinson immigrated to St. Kitts in 2001. All right. Okay. So he was born in Richmond, Virginia on July the 6th of 1941 to Massey Cleveland Robinson and Doris Robinson Griffin. Both teachers. The late ABC News anchorman Max Robinson was his elder brother. Randall Robinson graduated from Virginia Union University and earned a JD, okay, which is Juris Doctor, degree at Harvard Law School. He also had an older sister, actress Jewel Robinson, and a younger sister, Pastor Jean Robinson. Both sisters live and work in Washington, D.C. area. Okay? So that's him. That's him right here. All right, so let's get into the discussion about Trans-African or Trans-Africa Forum, which was founded in 1977. Okay? So, it says Trans-Africa is an advocacy organization in Washington, D.C. that seeks to influence the foreign policy of the United States concerning African and Caribbean countries and all African diaspora groups. They are a research, education, and advocacy center for activism focusing on social, economic, and political conditions in Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America, and other parts of African diaspora. They are the largest and oldest social justice organization in the United States that focuses on the African world. They have served as a major research, educational, and organizing institution for the African and African descendant communities and the U.S. public in general. Okay? So, the Trans-African Forum is a research, education, and advocacy center dedicated to global justice for the African people or the African world. All right? So, according to Trans Africa, is envision a world where Africans and people of African descent are self-reliant, socially and economically prosperous, and have equal access to a more just international system that strengthens independence and democracy. All right. Um. So it goes down to say Trans Africa creates solidarity between Americans and communities most affected by U.S. policies throughout the world. So Trans Africa supports human rights, gender equity, democracy, and sustainable economic and environmental development. Okay. And I hope you guys are following me. Oh, this individual, this individual. I should have known. I should have known I would have had a troll coming on here. I should have known that. This Ant Smith guy. Huh. How interesting. How interesting. But I'll deal with you later. I'll deal with you later because I'll deal with you some other time. All right? I'm not going to address you. I'm going to let you have your comments, but I will deal with you later. Just know that if you're watching. This individual, you know. I can't do nothing but laugh at the trolls. Oh boy. Let me get back to the point. All right. So the Black Forum on Foreign Affairs was formed in 1975 and served as the precursor to Trans Africa. Okay. So Trans Africa Forum was founded on July the 1st of 1977 after being conceived a year earlier at a Black Leadership Conference convened by the Congressional Black Caucus in September of 1976. A committee consisting of Randall Robinson, all right, Herschel Chandler, and Willard Johnson are credited for formulating an organization design and launch. Robertson became the organization's first director. It began to launch a series of legislative campaigns, strategic media outreach, and activism that increased public awareness of apartheid in South Africa and made a contribution to the global anti-apartheid solidarity movement. It is credited for its role in the anti-apartheid struggle through its activism. So, through the Free South Africa movement, they initiated a letter writing campaigns, hunger strikes, protesters marched to protest against apartheid and to compel the U.S. government to act against apartheid. Right? All right. So, let's look at the books that Randall Robinson wrote. All right. So, unfortunately, he passed away at the age of 81. He passed away last year on March 24th of 2023 in St. Kitts. Okay. And if you guys don't remember who Max Robinson is, Max Robinson was a news anchor. Okay. He was the first African American news anchor, but I will do a topic on him another day. All right, so that's his brother. But these are the books that was written by Randall Robinson. All right. So this one's called The Debt. What America Owes to Blacks. That came out in 2000. All right. Um he wrote another one called Defending the Spirit, A Black Life in America. The Reckoning, which is What Blacks Owe to Each Other, that came out in 2002. All right. Honor Haiti, honor ourselves. Forget Haiti, forget ourselves. This one is called Quitting America. All right. And it says the departure of a black man from his native land. And this one's called Makita. All right. So it's a novel, but it came out in 2011. So it's plenty list of books that he has written, but these are the few. Okay. But the point is, Pan-Africanism has done something. It has done something. Because if it wasn't for Pan-Africanism, how many grassroots would be around today? How many grassroots will be around today if it wasn't for Pan-Africanism? Hmm? If it wasn't for Pan-Africanism, how many grassroots will be around today? We got to give some type of contribution. We got to give them credit for it, right? And it's still an ongoing process. Now, we're in the modern times and things going to change. You know what I'm saying? Ideology is going to change, right? But we cannot neglect what these people, our ancestors, have done. We cannot neglect what our ancestors have done. We cannot neglect what these people was trying to accomplish in those time frames. All right, so I'm gonna address this comment. No institution, no banks, no financing, no nothing. Do you know there are black banks out there? Do you know there are black banks available? Do you know there are black banks? And we got a few of them where I'm at. There's black banks out there, but not many people do research on them. There are institutions, black institutions, but how many people doing research on those black institutions? They just not commercially known, unless you want to talk about HBCUs, right? But some HBCUs were founded by Europeans, but there are some HBCUs that were founded by black people, black churches. And I could pull up the list of names of HBCUs that were founded by black people. As far as financing, right? There are people who are trying their damnedest to bring some form of concept of economics to the black community. But what are we doing collectively? What are we doing collectively as far as economic is concerned? What are we doing on the collective scales to make sure that we keep the economics in our community? Because I'm going to tell you what's going on. There's the concept of individualism that's happening, that's been happening. And not only you have individualism that takes place within our community, the capitalism, the concept of group economics becomes obsolete. It becomes obsolete because everybody don't have that same mentality when it comes to group economics. You know what I'm saying? And let me say this. For somebody who do agree with Pan-Africanism, I will say that there are people that use Pan-Africanism as a way to capitalize. There are people who capitalize off of Pan-Africanism. I will say that. I will say that. I will say that. There are people. Okay, bro, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'll go back and forth with you another day. But I'm going to put it out there. I just said what I said. So I'm going to go back and forth with you another day on another topic. All right? So you can still put comments on there. But just know I'm not going to respond. All right. So anyways, there are people who capitalize off of Pan-Africanism. I will say that. There are people who do not have genuine or who are not very sincere about the community. Okay? And it ain't just those who capitalize off of Pan-Africanism, it's those who are capitalizing off of black organizations. Period. We can talk about Black Lives Matter, for example. They made over $90 million off the black community as far as police brutality is concerned. And there's an ongoing feud with other members or other groups that was under Black Lives Matters because they're not seeing the money. So I will say that there are people who use organizations such as Pan-Africanism as a way to capitalize. There are those. There are those who do not have sincerity or who are not very genuine. I will be very honest about that. Okay? However, there are those who have done what they could collectively, who have paved the way for others to have some form of pride, some form of joy. You are correct. Most organizations are infiltrated. You are correct. You are correct about that. And you're right. We have to be honest about that. There are organizations that are infiltrated. But again, I can't see myself as somebody who connects with Pan-Africanism. Yes, I could be honest about the things, the discrepancy that's been taking place. I could be honest about that. I'm going to be honest about the discrepancy. That I can be honest and I can speak on that. But I can't see myself rejecting the concept of Pan-Africanism because of certain individuals that are misusing or misconstruing it. I can't see myself rejecting the concept of Pan-Africanism knowing that there were people who actually died, who actually fought, who put their life on the line to try to make sure the people were educated and give them some type of political education or some type of economic ideas in development or social ideas. And these people weren't able to put everything into practice, but they opened up opportunities for others to do so. So I can't see myself saying, I can't see myself saying fuck Pan-Africanism or Pan-Africanism is useless when it brought the idea, the collectiveness in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is as African Americans, Afro-Caribbeans, right, even the Africans in the continent, we wouldn't be able to have some form of collectiveness, right? Or be connected in some shape or form if it wasn't for Pan-Africanism. You see what I'm saying? Especially here in America. We wouldn't be able to have that diversity in America if it wasn't for Pan-Africanism. And I'm not saying every person is going to get along with each other. I don't know. People think that when I say about Pan-Africanism, or if anybody else speak on that, we expect for everybody to hold hands and join forces together. No, we're not expecting for everybody to get along with each other. That we know human behavior. If anybody knows about human behavior, anybody knows that humans are not going to be on one accord. Everybody know that all humans are not going to be on one accord with each other. You know, that's just human nature in general. You know what I'm saying? However, there are those who, however, as human, we can learn. We can learn and we can be able to have an open mind about things. It's just like, let's put it like this. Let's say long lost siblings. Long lost siblings, right? They don't know anything about each other. But when they meet each other for the first time, they have some form of opposition with one another. However, once they start to learn more and more about each other and be around each other so much, they start to come in terms to accept each other. They start to grow. They grow into developing some form of personality, right? And share some common grounds. And they realize that they have one thing in common as their parental background. You know, they share the same parent, right? But they've been away from each other for so long to where they weren't able to connect. And that's the thing with us Africans here in America, in the Caribbean, and in the continent, right? It's like we've been separated for so long. So when we come and we finally meet each other, it's going to be that friction. It's going to be the chaos there because the fact that we've been separated. But once we start learning the common ground, we learn about our common struggle and what we have in common, then that's what ties us together. right? That brings a connection. You're right. Most people who speak against Pan-Africanism don't know enough because they don't study. And I hate to say this. There's a saying. There's a saying that goes like this. It is so true. You could put something in a book and our people won't read it. Put it in a book and our people don't read it. Most of our people, I'm going to be very honest, and a lot of folks ain't going to like what I'm about to say, but most of our people don't like to read. Most of our people don't like to read. Most of our people don't like to do these type of research. What most of our people look for is romanticism, personality worship. That's what they look for. They don't do the actual research. They don't do the actual studies. Most of our people don't like to read. It's the reality. It is the reality. And if they read something, they're going to read something that is appealing to them, that makes them feel good. They're looking for something they can romanticize about. And for example, Egypt. As much as we love Egypt, right? But our people look at the romanticism of Egypt and not actually study the history of Egypt as a whole, as a totality. They just find the romantic part of Egypt as beneficial, and everything else doesn't matter. And that's not how it works when you study history. So yes, there is pros and cons to things. You see what I'm saying? You gotta study the history. Okay? Let me see. Um the mischaracterization of Pan-Africanism is literally what I call it, and Garveyism Pan-African isn't it, or the only version of Pan-Africanism. You're absolutely correct. And let's be honest, Marcus Garvey never called himself a Pan-Africanist. He referred to himself as a black nationalist, but he never called himself a Pan-Africanist. He never called himself a Pan-Africanist. Let's be honest. But his ideal is rooted in Pan-Africanism way. But he never referred to himself as a Pan-Africanist. He did refer to himself as an African and a black nationalist. But I think the reason why he did not use the term Pan-Africanism because he was in opposition with W.E.B. Du Bois. I think that's one of the reasons why he didn't use the term Pan-Africanism. Because him and Du Bois was in opposition of each other. Just like Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. And as a matter of fact, Booker T. Washington was the one that influenced Garvey. He was the biggest influence to Garvey. That was one of the reasons why Garvey came here to America, because he wanted to meet Booker T. Washington. But by the time he got here, Booker T had passed away. Booker T. Washington died by the time Garvey got here, and he was heartbroken. He was very heartbroken because he wanted to meet this man, because he liked the ideas that Washington was trying to implement, as far as do for self, as far as like economic development and all of that. That was Booker T. Washington. He was on do for self. Now W.E.B. Du Bois was a little different from that. He felt like, well, you got to get government involved. You know what I'm saying? You can't just do for self. You know what I'm saying? You got to have black people got to be involved with government affairs, etc. You know what I'm saying? I never heard this one. The Green Wall of Africa is a Pan-African endeavor. You know what? Let me look into that while we talking about that. I would bring you up here, Sister Juju, but I don't know. I don't know if you want to come up here. I mean, Sister Juju, if you want to come up here, you're more than welcome. Cause you can You can share some information if you want to come up here. Let me see. Let me see if Sister Juju want to come up here. I might get her to come up here because she know a little bit more than I do. She know way more than I do, so I might get her to come in here. So if she wanna chime in, Sister Juju, if you want to chime in, you're more than welcome to do so. So go ahead. Let's look up the Green Wall, Africa. Okay, let's look up the Green Wall, Africa. Hmm. See, it's called the Great Green Wall. Yeah, Sister Julanda, if you want to come in and chime in on the information, then you can do so. You know what I'm saying? Because you got a lot to share. Hmm. Okay. All right. Uh. Yeah, I gotta read more into that. That's a powerful information. The Great Green Wall. All right. So W.E.B. Du Bois later said he would have, or he should have supported Garvey. He did. He later on in life because Du Bois started to come in terms. Let me go ahead and bring the sister up here. Yeah, so Du Bois started to come in terms to like really grow to appreciate Pan-Africanism more. In his beginning stage, he was kind of like, I don't want to say he was a coon, but he was kind of like, too conservative, like, you know what I'm saying, because of his background, where he came from. He grew up in an environment where he didn't encounter racism like that, you know what I'm saying? So he kind of grew up privileged, if you want to call it that. But yeah. Yeah, so go ahead, Sister Julanda. Now I got my brother on here, in Yame. So,
Um, can you
but
hear
yeah,
me?
go ahead, share the information that you were sharing in the chat.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, good. Yeah, so I was just saying that a lot of times when people push back on Pan-Africanism, like I don't understand the disdain, even if they do feel it's outdated or if it's not useful to them, it's been useful to somebody somewhere. So I find a lot of times that people just don't know enough about the history, and there's a lot of intricate parts. So, that includes me too. A lot of stuff that I've learned about Pan Africanism, I've learned in the last year or so. I've been a Pan African way longer, but I was never stuck on that bus, just a Garveyite type of Pan Africanism, which is something that you often hear exhibited by people, by lots of people that I come across who claim to be Pan Africanism. And I find that a bit problematic. Because there are so many different organizations or whatnot, like the Pan African Congress, and you got the African Diaspora Organization, Pan African Development. What else you got? Pan African Parliament. That's recent, right? You also have the African Union. Like, these different things are many of the different Pan African organizations that are not necessarily spewed from the Garveyite movement. Not being disrespectful, just saying,
Right. And New
just like,
Republic of Africa.
exactly. There's more than one way to be a Pan African. I don't think there's one particular mode as a Pan African. I think Pan Africanism is meant to be flexible. And another misconception is that Pan African is only like relegated or isolated to the African continent. And that's, um to me, a number one fallacious logic. Pan Africanism is more so um, about Africa, but also the Africans in the diaspora, and that's anywhere in the world.
Okay. See, so
So
the argument was that was something about Haiti wanted to be part of the African Union or something, and the African Union said no, or whatever the case may be, or they didn't want to include Haiti in it. And so I guess the discussion that
yeah,
was
because
had,
it wasn't geographically in Africa. So like I said, I will have to research more, but I think there's some other political reasons for why um Haiti wasn't allowed into the African Union, and I think a lot of them have to do with one, America's stronghold on Haiti, and probably, some of the stuff we talked about it, America not necessarily having the best diplomatic ties with lots of African nations, for
mm,
many different reasons. So that's just my personal opinion. I can't necessarily source that up, but by being on the outside, looking in, I would say it probably have something to do with that, because even though we have people in Haiti who look like us, we know that a lot of them are the colonizers. The colonizer is the puppeteer, and a lot of them are puppets, continually creating
mm,
chaos and mayhem in this country, in Haiti, and they don't deserve that. So I find that problematic. This woman is just babbling. It's funny, but everything I named to you are Pan African organizations. I hope you were taking notes. And the
no,
reason why I did so much work on this is because of this mischaracterization of Pan Africanism, and realizing that a lot of people who are getting into Pan Africanism, even on the continent or elsewhere, are doing it in a more scientifically challenged way, right? So, I mean, because that's the evidence that I've been getting. You know what I'm saying? Um, Even when we talk about the Great Wall, and I keep bringing up Ames because, yes,
mhm. Sister Juju, are you there? Hello, are you there? Okay. Um, and Yame, do you want to say something, brother?
Peace, peace, Sister Tiffany. How's
Peace.
everything?
Everything is going fine. Yeah, you want to chime in? You want to add on? Anything you
Yeah,
want to say?
yeah. I mean, she hit everything pretty much. She put on the head. That there's no one thing of Pan Africanism. Like somebody was saying in the chant, there's no bank. I mean, you wouldn't call a bank a Pan African bank. You wouldn't call a bank. You wouldn't call a school a Pan African school. But we have Pan Africanists in every one of those areas. Um, Nobody really mentions Martin Delaney, the person who was in the Civil War. He was very integral in the Civil War, very key person in black people getting citizenship here in America, and he was a Pan Africanist. He was even uh, trying to find places in Africa to build a nation, but he didn't do that in Africa because he said we might have a better chance here after the Civil War. But he was a Pan Africanist. So it's more about the ideology that we need to work together for our own interest. I mean that's the staple of Pan Africanism. So things like having African centered education in colleges where you can learn about African history is a part of Pan Africanism. Um, Things that helped us retain knowledge of who we were, retain knowledge of where we come from. Uh, we maintain our culture. We understand what our culture is because of Pan Africanists like John Henry Clark, the historian. Uh,
Fact.
so it's much deeper than just building a bank. And there's many institutions like Ghana. The entire nation was started by Kwame Nkrumah, a Pan Africanist who was influenced by Marcus Garvey and W.E.B. Du Bois. So the entire nation of Ghana, when they got their freedom, it was Kwame Nkrumah who was the first president who was a Pan Africanist. And you got Patrice Lumumba, whom the United States and the British and the Belgium had murdered because he was such a Pan Africanist that they feared him and had him murdered because they didn't want him to be the leader of a Pan Africanist movement in Africa. So these leaders in America, in the Belgium, they all knew how powerful Pan Africanism is, and so they fought against it. It's only people who I hate to call them Negropeans and coons who just want us to focus on assimilating into American society that have a problem with it. Because why do you have a problem with it? What is your problems against it? What is it doing to you that is affecting you that you have a problem with it?
Well, they people make so many arguments. Well, these people don't deal with us. They don't care about us. They don't claim us, etc. They sold our people. I mean, the most common argument I hear is they sold our people into slavery. Da 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 da. All right, now part of that is true, but there's more to slavery than just that aspect. There's more to slavery than that aspect. Okay. We can go so far as to say that there was coercion taking place. All right. There were African nations that fought against transatlantic slave trade. Like they fought their hardest, but they end up becoming victims of it too. You know what I'm saying? We can go
Right.
into a lot of things. So it's so much complexity when it comes to slavery. It's very complicated. It's not like you can get like one answer per se. You know what I'm saying? It's multiple things in multiple instances that took place. Just like when we talk about, being descendants of slaves, we got to understand that slavery was not a United States business. All right. It wasn't even just a Caribbean business. It was a global business.
Right. It was a global business, and it still is in so many ways. It still is.
Yeah, it is. It's a global business. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't just one European country that played a part in it. Okay. It was multiple European countries that had their hands on slavery. So we're gonna talk. So this gonna go back into the concept about reparation. If you're gonna talk reparation, you got to include all those countries that played their part. You know what I'm saying? Not just United States alone. You know what I mean? Because we gotta look at when we deal with the history. Before it was the United States, right? You just had colonies and territories. So that was ran by Europeans from different places. Okay.
Right.
So
Not just countries, but corporations. New York Life,
there you go.
Harvard, right? Harvard, Georgetown University. There's a lot that played a role in it, and that whole reparations thing. Of course, we deserve reparations.
Yeah.
Who would say we didn't deserve it? But I
But
think
you're
it's
not
just you.
gonna say that we don't deserve reparation, but that's another conversation.
Right, right. Well, we know who those are. They usually have a white spouse or something, and they don't want to go to their kid's grandma and say you owe us, you owe us reparation. But that entire argument, it's like the government knows who deserves it. We got the records.
Right.
The American government they're playing games with it. If they
Exactly.
wanted to give us reparation, it would happen next week.
They would have been
It
gave
would.
it to us.
We got the records. Right. And they know exactly who's been here the longest and who's, it's games being played. We don't have to say we FBA, we ADOS, we this. They know who we are. It's
Exactly. And they
right,
know more
right,
about
and
our history than we do.
exactly, exactly, exactly. I pulled up records where my great grandfather was in the Civil War. They still had records of him. They can find out in a week's notice who was here, who deserves what, but they know it's never going to happen. I don't see it ever happen unless you, as an individual, can prove it. Unless you can prove that a corporation or a government denied your family land, or took land or took money from your family specifically. If you can't do that, they're not going to give out reparations like that.
Right. And
Just
then and if they did give out reparation, then now you gotta change the trajectory of the economy. That means that because you're talking about trillions of dollars, close to trillions of dollars, that's owed to black people in America, but that means you gotta change the economy around because
right,
now, what I'm saying, the wealth gap, what I mean, is going to change. And that means everybody's going to get their fair share. Everybody's going to be on the same page. And that's something that let's be honest, most white people are not willing to do. They're not willing to give up their wealth like that, especially when
no,
they generation
and
have
I
been around
don't blame them. I
slavery.
wouldn't want to give right. I wouldn't want to give it up neither. You know, I saw a show. They had this white family,
Hmm.
and the children found out that their wealth. I forgot there was some type of textile organization that their family owned slaves. So that company itself um, rewarded the families some land. It wasn't worth all that much, but through the research of that company, they was able to do it. And it's going to happen like that. But other government action being taken that's going to make reparations happen, I don't see it. Like you say, you will change the dynamics of the economy, and the economy is designed to give them the wealth gap. Why would they change it to benefit us? It really doesn't make sense. They wouldn't do it. Why would they want to change the wealth gap? If I design an economy to make me wealthy and my children wealthy, I have no desire to change it. You will have to force me to change
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yes. That's the key thing. It will have to be done by force. So, but like you said, if the country really wanted to do that, they have been and did it a long time ago.
it.
They
Yeah,
made sure it happened, or it was in the process. Yeah. But yeah. But getting back to the subject matter in itself, and speaking of reparation, like I mentioned before, the New Republic of Africa, you got which Queen Mother Moore was a part of. She and the organization, they made sure they incorporated the HR 40 bill into Congress. Okay, and the HR 40 bill is still around, which deals with the subject about reparation. So reparation is now a new topic. Okay, now that's one the concept of the Pan-Africanist movement. You know what I'm saying? Making sure they
right.
incorporate the concept of reparation. So that's not a new topic. That's not a new topic at all. You know what I'm saying?
No, no. It's very old, very old.
Right.
um, one of the things that they use is that they say that the Constitution doesn't recognize race. And that comment alone is racist. Because right. So if you saying the Constitution doesn't recognize race, how did they use the Constitution with their Jim Crow laws? They used the Constitution in for slavery. So what they're saying now with the Constitution is that, oh, we can't use the Constitution to reward a race, reparations, because the Constitution doesn't see race. You see the game that they play with us?
Yeah.
To me, it's just a game. And so that's why they trying to make up these new things of ADOS and FBA. So they're saying that the Constitution and Freeman, the other thing they use is Freeman, that the Constitution recognized Freeman, they'll recognize ADOS, but they won't recognize black people or a racial group. But that all of that is silly. All of that is silly. We need to get back to understand that this is a global war. We have to see it as a global war. And that's what Pan-Africanism tries to let us see, that the problems you're having here in America, they're having it in South America. The problems in South America, they're having it on the African continent. And until we see it in that light, we're going to continue to fight the same issues decade after decade.
Facts. Well, brother, I do appreciate you being on here. Thank you for giving your input and your thoughts. And also, I appreciate Sister Juju for coming on here as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and close it out though.
All
But
right,
thank you
peace,
so much.
peace. All right, peace.
Right. But yeah, I appreciate those who are watching and tuning in. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting the channel and listen to what I have to say. So with that being said, yeah, I had to put that person in timeout. Anyways, yeah. But I appreciate this conversation. I really do. I appreciate having this discussion right here. So yeah, it's very important that we talk about the concept of Pan-Africanism and you know, just its impact and what it has done and contribute to the Africans and the African in the diaspora. So again, it has done something useful. You know what I'm saying? Could there be more taking place? Absolutely. But we know that that's going to be in due time, you know. But let's just appreciate what the foundation it has given us collectively. Let's appreciate the foundation. All right. So until next time, peace and power elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany. Like I said, I had to come on my channel and I had to speak on the subject matter because it's best if I could do it on my channel, you know, as opposed to going somebody else's channel and going back and forth with individuals. So I didn't want to be disrespectful on someone else's panel. So I said, well, let me just come over here and let me state my point of view. Let me state my argument. And let me state how I feel. So, etc. Let me speak on that on my channel. Let me vent over here. Yeah, because I didn't want to say anything that was out of character or that was wrong or, you know what I'm saying, it comes off very rudely because I know I could be a very passionate person. So I did it over here. So anyways, you guys take it easy. Y'all be safe. And to next time, I will build with you guys later. And I will keep you guys posted with the topic or whatnot. Lion Towns, baby, please don't come over here and start messing with folks. Don't do that. Okay? He ain't messing with nobody. He's over here watching just like you. So don't mess with that man. Leave him alone. And also, I am my own woman, so I don't need nobody to try to convert me into anything. Okay? I am my own person. So leave him alone. He good. He ain't bothering nobody. You know what I'm saying? He just coming in, listening, just watching the video. All right. But anyways, y'all have a good evening, and I will talk to y'all later. And be safe. Peace. All right.